if Wigan gets to a final or wins the league seeded field, he gets to stay. And I'm now in the camp of, I don't want to sit and watch that again next year. I'm not going to go and watch Wigan at Hull or Wigan at Warrington. I'm not paying my money and putting my time, petrol, to go to those games because I'm fed up of spending my time and money and petrol going to those games and watching that level of attack. I mean, I watch them on the TV and I'll still support them, and don't get me wrong, I still love my club. But I don't love what I'm watching. And this is not like me. Normally I watch us lose a game, and what I want to do is get to the next game as soon as possible to get back behind the team. And whilst I don't like things that are going on sometimes, and I've criticised our attack all year, this was a breaking point. We had 2 extra men sometimes in this for a period in this game, and Widnes's defence, to be fair, actually stepped up at that time. It wasn't just a case of giving away penalties. I mean, when they were down to 12 men the first time, they gave away 4 penalties in 7 minutes, so they deserved to have another man go to the bin. That was absolutely disgusting. But if I was a Widnes fan, I'd be fuming at them if there was anything on the game. But then they won at Wigan, so they're happy days. I just can't say it any differently to that. I'm ready. At the minimum, he needs to shape up his backroom staff to get some sort of attacking and backs coaches in the game to come up with different ideas.
Well, that was what I was surprised about, really, that they haven't replaced Paul Deacon in doing that job.
Well, he's got his head in the sand. He thinks those moves that were so good. Let's not forget, his first year in charge was probably the best attack Wigan have ever seen in the Super League era.
Yeah.
Certainly up there. It was phenomenal. And everyone who hates us and hates him can say what they want, but they can't deny that how good our attack was that year, how many points we scored, how we were just cutting through teams, opening them up with a progression of what Maguire had brought in with the structure. But on top of that, a little bit more flair to that structure completely, because there was like flat kicks to wingers and a lot more going on in that year. And to be fair, 2013 to an extent as well. It started to drop off halfway through 2013. Since then, our attack's just become more and more predictable and easy to defend now.
But why, though? Because it's not like there's been a drop-off in the calibre of personnel at your disposal, is it?
Well, there has, to an extent, that we're looking at young players who have been brought through a Wayne system, who don't play what they see, they play what they're taught to play. They play the structure that's drilled into them, rather than... Our young players don't look up and count numbers. Right. I'm convinced they don't, because they go the wrong way too often. Okay. Sam Powell's not a hooker by trade, but he's a halfback by trade. He should be able to count defenders. He should know when the hooker should run or not. He should have that in his game. And as much as I've liked what he's done this year, stepping in, because I don't think it would have been that much different under McAlorum, to be completely honest, because again, it's what the players are told to do. And it's not the players, it's the structures. They need someone to come in with a different idea on the structures.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've gone on longer than I intended to, because obviously a few things came up along the way.
No.
But yeah, I didn't want to. I almost didn't want to. I almost wanted to stop doing the show because I'm just sick of. I just didn't feel like I had the zest for rugby league because of what had happened. To be completely honest,
it was one of those games that I've turned off because I was bored. I did watch the game just because it was more like I was more morbidly curious about how it was going.
But that was because it was Wigan losing and Wigan being crap.
I think I would have watched it. Now, you know me. You know I'm not one of these anyone but sort of guys.
So if it was Castleford against Huddersfield or something, you would have turned that off.
No, because of the way this game was and because of where the scorelines were, in this specific circumstance, you could put pretty much any 2 Super League clubs in there, and if this game's taking place, I would have stayed on and watched it, absolutely. And it was, from my point of view, it was like, the equivalent of bear baiting or what have you, watching this kind of thing unfold in front of me, and it was undoubtedly the worst game I've watched this season in terms of the quality and what was on offer from both sides. Talking more positively then about the point scoring and things like that, I know we touched on this the other day, you and I. There was some discussion in the presentation on television about Corey Thompson's first try, which was the Kev Brown kick, and whether or not Corey Thompson was onside. Because you can't tell from the television. So what was your impression of it in the ground? Was it touch and go, or was it?
It was close.
It was a close one.
It was close. I didn't think he was obviously offside, but I thought it was close. I thought the forward pass was worse.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, and that shows actually under Wayne we do have a strong defence. We conceded only 2 scores in this game, and the 2 scores were from 2 very debatable tries.
Yeah.
And Widnes didn't really have much of another look in after that.
No.
Or besides that.
No.
But how much looking can you get when, you're dropping the ball or giving penalties away, I suppose?
Yeah. Or you've only got 11 men on the field. Well, I don't want to blame Widnes too much for that. Okay, so tell us the story of the game. Give us the stats then.
Okay. Probably won't come as a great shock to those that watch the game. This had more penalties than any other top tier game this year, with 28. Also, it may be less noticed, is that it had the most successful tackles of any game this year.
Right.
788, which says every time there was a tackle, there was lots of men getting around the ball, which isn't surprising when we think about how slow the rucks were.
Yeah.
And how many penalties were given away. Wigan had more ball thanks to Widnes' ill discipline, meaning a 19-9 penalty count.
Let me talk about the penalty count for a second, right? Because
of those three fucking joke of it that even up the penalty count ones he gave against Tautai and Charlie.
No, not so much. No. I want more talk about the 19 penalties that Widnes conceded than the 9 that you did. But there have been times on this podcast where we've talked about teams that will deliberately give away penalties because they back themselves defensively. Do you think that Widnes' game plan? Can you give them any credit? Can you say that they were? Perhaps you're not the best person to ask, but is there an argument to say that this is a team that said, well, we're going to commit some offences at the ruck, and until we get pinged, we're going to behave this way because we can spoil the party a little bit and slow it down and get them into the battle we want to have with them?
Probably. Like I say, I find it really hard to look at this game in any other way than as a Wigan fan, and I'm sure people will excuse me that.
Because
right.
The thing I have difficulty with is I'm trying really hard to feel sorry for Wigan from the point of view that it just feels to me like Widnes had a game plan and they've stuck to it. And that's paid off.
I'm not saying the team who executed better to their plan won the game.
Yeah.
Wigan didn't deserve to win this game. No. The referee wasn't a factor in that, and Widnes weren't a factor in that. Wigan's attack didn't deserve to win any game in this. Widnes, though, did defend quite well. I mean, particularly the spell of 11 men and that second period of 12 men, and the other time, I think there was a period in the first half where they were restricting us making meters for a period.
Yeah.
So in those two spells, I'd say yes, they defended very well, and across the board, they stuck to their task particularly well. I mean, and you got to talk about the try-saving tackle, even though Ryan Sutton should obviously have scored that try. There was a try-saving tackle there. There was a very good tackle on John Bateman right near the end. When an opportunity was missed to get the ball out wide because the pass to Bateman, I think, was a bit slow, and there was a few times that happened, like right at the very last play that sealed it, kind of thing, the one where Gelling threw the forward pass.
Yeah.
Bateman would have been clear if the pass wasn't a floaty pass in front of him that he had to bobble and get control of and then pass on. So Wigan missed too many opportunities, but Widnes defended well.
Fair play. Carry on, sorry.
Wigan had more ball, thanks. Oh, I've done that bit. Wigan therefore made more meters, 237 more, but they made their meters at 0.5 meters per carry worse than Widnes did, who also had an extra clean break than the home side despite 51 fewer carries. So again, Wigan's attack blunted. Reece Hanbury did come round on some really good swing lines, as he has done all year, and he was impressive to watch for that. Individually, Corey Thompson 2 tackles, 2 tries, 2 clean breaks. Reece Hanbury 200 metres, 2 clean breaks. Jack Buchanan 135 metres despite his spell in the bin, and Chris Houston 42 tackles. He seemed to be around everything. Obviously, both those lads had a few penalties next to their names, but they did their jobs as they were asked to do, let's say. For Wigan, Liam Farrell and John Bateman were the 2 players that came out of this with any credit for me from a Wigan point of view, and that was it. But 1 try and 150 metres for Liam Farrell, and 40 tackles, 174 metres, 3 successful offloads for John Bateman. Lewis Tinney had 6 tackles, 182 metres and 2 clean breaks, so obviously he did his job, but I think he found himself in positions where he made himself too easy to get pushed out into touch and things like that, so I think there's things to work on for young Lewis. Dan Sargent's in 182 metres. He's flogged himself again in this one. Good luck to the Titans picking him up off the canvas.
He's going to need a good couple of weeks holiday, isn't he, by the end of the season?
I hope for his sake he don't get picked for England.
Yeah, okay, I think he might do that. Owen Hughes got in touch. He said an odd game, but good for the neutral. Poor discipline and great defence versus impotent attack and frustration. Poor game for Bentham, failed to keep control, and you can't say he didn't penalise enough. Ultimately, though, it was a game lost by Wigan. How many chances did they want? Maybe regretting not kicking either penalty at the end. What say you on that then, Neil? Because that kick for 2 debate. I know we've had this conversation.
There was 4 kickable penalties for 2 in the second half that I can recall. Although 2 of them, the one in the 78th minute and the one in the 79th minute are the same for me. That's one occasion really, because if you don't take one, you don't take the other, do you?
Yeah.
There was the one when Widnes first went down to. No, there was one just after Wigan scored. Sorry. And I thought at that time Wigan had finally found a roll on. They were making meters quite easily. We were starting to find holes, or at least half holes. I think it was the right decision to push forward for a win on that one.
Yeah.
Then, the one when they went down to 12 men, I would have kicked that one because we would have got the ball back. We would have had... It should have been relatively easy for us to get up their end as long as we didn't make any mistakes because we had an extra man. So I think that one was the one we could and should have kicked, maybe. The last 2, I agree with not going for them. 1 point kept us in 3rd position, come what may. So if we're aiming for the league leaders shield, our points difference is so bad that it's never going to overcome both of the 2 of them if they win. And the 1 point got us to 3rd position. Now people say 1 point would have secured our Super League top 4 position, but I don't care about that. I want to look up, I want to be positive minded, and our attack was so terrible that it was good to see at least there were some positive minds out there, even if they don't know what they're doing when they actually make the decision to run the ball. But we actually very nearly scored. Like I say, if that pass wasn't floated and slow and just out in front of John Bateman, we could have got in. If the ball had got to Tierney quicker on the other side, he nearly had an overlap, he had to skip back inside. There was a run back across the field from Gildart. If someone was offering him a run at that stage, we could have straightened him up, drawn the men in, and got the ball out wide on the next play, and actually possibly scored. There was opportunities in that last 2 minutes from those 2 penalties. Yeah. So I don't think not at that stage. No, the middle one was the one I would say, because we knew we were going to have a period with an extra man, so we should have been at least able to get into position to kick a drop goal. Yeah. Now without Matty Smith on the pitch, whether that drop goal would have been a foregone conclusion, but anyway, we've talked enough about this. I talked far too much about this game.
Okay, so Chris Macy then, he said, well then, that was certainly a scrappy one, seeing that no matter how hard they tried, Widnes just couldn't throw it away, and Wigan valiantly held on to the defeat. What a huge missed opportunity for the Warriors to gain some ground on the top 2, especially with the penalty count so heavily in their favour, but bravo the Vikings on their defensive effort. We got one in from Paul, which I presume is Campbell, given what we got, which was Wigan players need sacking.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, at elaborated by me, that is definitely a new one on me.
Yeah, me too, yeah. So
thank you for getting in touch.
Looks like a Wigan fan, I'm guessing.
You would think so. Elaborated by me said, referee was atrocious tonight, not saying Wigan deserved to win, but some truly diabolical decisions out there. Tyler Casfan got in touch. He said, shocking but hilarious at the same time. Gross indiscipline from Widnes, matched only by gross incompetence from Wigan to get over the line. Stats that will probably point to an easy Wigan win, but there are no stats for desire, and Widnes had a bucket full.
Yeah, and people like Burke, Dudson, some of our former players, the ones in the pack in particular, showed all that determination and effort, and hats off to them for how hard they work.
Yeah, fantastic. Paul O'Brien 1976 got in touch. He said, what a game, made it really hard for ourselves, too many penalties at the play the ball, didn't expect to win but we'll take that. 2 wins at the DW this year, hashtag nothing to play for. Jay Green got in touch. Both teams' discipline were poor tonight. Wigan got away with slowing the ruck. Widnes got ducked into scrappy tactics in the second half. Widnes can still claim their highest finish in Super League.
I'm sorry, Jay, but I can't agree with the Wigan got away with anything and Widnes got dragged into stuff. Widnes were penalised for messing around at the ruck within the first 2 minutes and should have been penalised every tackle on that first set.
Chris McKeown
got entitled to their own fans' views.
Of course. Chris McKeown got in touch. Not bothering. Alright. He said Wigan aren't a good side. It highlights how low the quality of Super League is that they can still win the grand final. Yeah, they won't though. John Robinson got in touch. He said, I've watched Wigan since 1967 on and off, and this was the worst performance I can remember. 37 people have conspired to ruin Rugby League as a spectacle. 17 clueless Wigan players, 17 cynical, headhunting, offside, spoiling Widnes players, and a ref, brackets the worst ever that Bentham has been, and 2 linesmen, brackets what is their purpose. I was so angry and frustrated that Wigan could have won it in the last 5 minutes and chose to throw it away.
Well, thanks, John, because you've just summed up what I ranted on for 5-10 minutes about it in 400 characters. So good lad.
There you are. Yeah, should get John on for these rants. Dave Walker, he said the refereeing was unintelligent. The Wigan's defence was heroic. Kevin Keir got in touch. Thank you, Kev.